But our second main topic today gets sent in to us by David Green, who writes, "Hey, John and Rob. Unfortunately, Rob's not here today. I saw Reminiscence this weekend, and I've personally never been more disappointed in a Hugh Jackman film. But even though I didn't like it, I still expected it to do pretty good at the box office. Nope. It came in 9th place on its opening weekend, making only $2 million. This has to be one of the biggest flops in history, isn't it? Why would this movie perform so badly?" All right. Thanks a lot for sending that in, man. I appreciate that. Yeah, we were just talking about, the success, the great success of Free Guy. Now, unfortunately, we had to flip that coin and look at one of the most brutal cinematic failures, box office wise, we've ever seen. And that is Reminiscence, a movie that cost a relatively cheap $68 million to make, yet only managed to pull in, I can't believe we're saying this, $2 million. It only managed to pull in $2 million in its opening weekend, not in its third weekend, not on its opening night. It only managed to pull in $2 million. A Hugh Jackman film that looks like a Christopher Nolan film, and it only managed to bring in $2 million. You're not wrong, dude, when you say this has to maybe be considered one of the biggest cinematic flops in Hollywood history. Not the biggest, not at all, but it's going to be in that conversation. It's going to be considered up there. That being said, we need to look at the reasons why. Why would a Hugh Jackman starring film only open to $2 million? I would suggest there are 3 reasons why. And we've talked about this a little bit over the lack of buzz the movie got. Then it got the poor ratings, the poor critic ratings, and now an absolute bust your face wide open, flopping on your face on the concrete, absolute total disastrous flop of an opening weekend. I think there are 3 reasons. Let's get the obvious one out of the way. Number 1, again, on HBO. HBO continues to shoot themselves in the foot with this idiotic, moronic, let's put it on HBO Max the same day it's in theaters thing. They continue to lose money as a result of this monumentally stupid decision that they made, and that's obviously one of the contributing factors. Contributing factor number 2 is, I'm going to say there's 4 reasons, but contributing factor number 2 is, we spoke about this earlier when we talked about there not being any buzz for the movie. Nobody knew what this movie was about. The trailers were like, oh, look how artsy this movie is, everybody. Ooh. But at the end of the day, nobody could look at the trailers and say, what is this movie about? I get the general background. Okay, it's kind of a post-apocalyptic future. There's an ability to actually search through or relive your memories. But that's kind of the setting. What is the movie about? And nobody could really give an answer about that. And I think that really ultimately hurt there being any buzz for it, and probably hurt a lot of people wanting to go see it. Contributing factor number 3 as to why I think Reminiscence is like one of the biggest bombs and flops in Hollywood history is it had not good reviews. Now, the last I checked, and you guys can correct me where I'm wrong in the live chat there, but the last time I checked, Reminiscence was holding like a 34% critic rating. So that's not going to get anybody excited. So reason number 1, obviously they put it on HBO Max. Reason number 2, nobody could tell what the movie was about. Reason number 3, it got poor. I'm not going to say the worst, but it got poor critic ratings. So that hurt too. But those are the 3 reasons I was going to give. Variety also brought up a really good reason. I thought I'd bring it up for you guys to see. Variety came up with another really good reason, which is basically this. A movie like Reminiscence is kind of more targeted at older audiences. And by older, we don't mean 70, 80, and 90, but like beyond the teenage years, right? Not a lot of teenagers, obviously some, but not a lot of teenagers are going to be interested in something like, Reminiscence, the way it was marketed. And Variety kind of proposes that this is kind of a domino effect of that in the pandemic, which is obviously another big reason, but that's kind of overarching for every single movie that comes out. Given the pandemic, older audiences are the ones that are a little bit more, have a little bit more trepidation about going back out to the movie theaters. A lot of the people who are going back to the movie theaters tend to skew a little bit younger. And a lot of the older audiences, maybe the wiser and smarter audiences, have a little bit more trepidation about venturing out to the movie theaters. And so when you get a movie like a Reminiscence that in its poor marketing, it seemed to be targeted at some older audiences, that could be a factor as well. So that's actually not a bad theory that Variety came up with as well. But still, even understanding all that, it is a shocking understanding that, yeah, pandemic for every movie, but the HBO Max thing, poor trailers, bad critic reviews, older audiences being more trepidatious about going out. I still, I would have lost $100 bet. You could have bet me hell, you could have bet me $1,000 a week ago and said, John, I'll bet you $1,000 Reminiscence only makes $2 million. I would have laughed in your face and I would have taken that bet in a second. I would have taken that bet in a heartbeat and I would have lost. Because even with all those reasons, that is, to me, guys, that is a stunning number. An absolutely stunning number. Question is for you guys. What do you think about the opening weekend? Let's just call it what it is. I love Hugh Jackman, but let's call it what it is. Historic level failure at the box office of Reminiscence, a $68 million movie making $2 million in its opening weekend. Do you like my reasons for it? Do you think maybe one or two of my reasons are incorrect? Do you have some other reasons that I left off the board? Whatever it is you guys are thinking, jump on down to the comment section below and let us know your thoughts.